Wanted to create another video today about a topic that I'm sure some of us have experienced in recent past, and it's something that I want to really delve into, and that's PTSD and trauma within our careers and in our workplace settings. I think often at times, a lot of us, and fortunately, I hope it hasn't happened to everybody, but for some of us, we've gone through layoffs, being fired, and it's never fun. It's never easy to get over. And I think one thing that always happens to some of us, not everyone, but for some of us, is oftentimes we are a bit scarred and are not fully healed from past instances. And what ends up happening is we end up getting a bit anxious at times when we're in a new job or we're in a new field and we experience new situations, conversations, instances that remind us of our previous um, jobs or previous gigs at other companies. And as a result, our body starts to act up and has these historical patterns in our body where we start to fear and have some anxiety. So, one thing that I personally have gone through, and I can certainly say I'm sure I'm not alone, but I unfortunately had the bad luck of being laid off twice in a year. And it was not for performance related issues at all. It was actually because the companies had just simply not been performing well. One company in particular, frankly, they shouldn't have hired me to begin with because what ended up happening was they just did not have enough pipeline in their business to really make me billable, if you will, and give me enough work to actually, make me resourceful and usable. And I understand they made a business decision that it didn't make sense for them to keep me on because there wasn't enough work to give me. Nevertheless, though, it was still crappy to go through and something that I had battled for quite a bit. What ends up happening is when something like this happens to us, when we get fired or if we get laid off, even if it is for performance reasons, we feel traumatized a bit and we have some sort of post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and we need to be able to move past it. And more importantly, we want to turn a new page, open a new chapter, open a new book, if you will, and really ensure that we have a fresh new beginning and we don't bring any dirty or old baggage from the past into our new chapter and our new job experiences. Something that really needs to happen is number one, you have to really realize that what had happened to you in the past, you cannot take personally. I think often at times that even when people get fired for stuff that isn't related to performance, or rather, I'm sorry, oftentimes if people are fired for performance reasons, they feel inferior and they feel less of themselves and they feel a shell of themselves, however you want to call it. The thing is that there's a number of reasons why it could have happened. You simply could have not given the right mentorship, the right resources. You simply could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you might have simply been selling a product that really is just not good in the marketplace, or you were working in an industry that was simply not doing well, and you were working with difficult clients, and it affected the overall, I guess, if you will, the overall performance from a financial standpoint from the company. Whatever it might be, what you have to remember is a couple of things. Number one, you can't take what happened to you personally. And this is something that I'm still working on and I'm almost getting there, but still working on it nevertheless. But you can't take what happened to you in the past personally and try to carry it on into what had happened to you in your current new gig or your new experience, because you don't want that to cloud or get in the way of your new job that, for all of the reasons, might be the best thing that have happened to you in years. So you have to really, first off, not take things personally. Number two, and this is really where a lot of people, like myself in particular, have to work on, is at first when I got laid off from one of my jobs, I got laid off over the course of 1 year. My feeling was more so anger and resentment, more so than um, depression. And what I had realized was I was mad about something, and this goes back to something I posted about in a previous previous reel or short, however you're watching my content. But resentment is something, again, to remind you all, is something that we are just not happy about, a certain experience, a certain person, a certain outcome that we are just so unhappy about and so upset or mad about. And the one thing that's frustrating most about it when it comes to resentment is that it's something that you simply could not control. You do not have the ability to hold the reins to control the outcome or the situation. And so, because of that, it becomes even more frustrating. And you're in this sort of paralysis mode where you just are wanting to try to change the past and trying to think retroactively if there's something you could have done that would have avoided it, or think of a way in which you can sort of, in a way, excuse yourself from what had happened. But the reality is that you need to excuse yourself from what had happened because you had no control over the situation. And that's where resentment is so hard for a lot of us, because really what ends up having resentment in order to get over it is two things, especially in the context of careers and jobs, gigs, whatever you want to call it. You need to do two things. One, you need to simply cut ties and just really eliminate it from your memory. And that's easier said than done. You have to move on and just forget about it. And if you truly did get fired and you were at fault and you really were doing blatantly wrong things and you're in hindsight ashamed of it, then move past it and be proud of the fact that you have done personal development and you've come to the realization that you were wrong. You know, forgive yourself and move on. But if that wasn't the case, you have to really, just number one, again, forget about it in its entirety and just break all ties from that memory and just think of it as something that you had done. But again, you were dealt a really unfair hand and you had to play with that hand and just didn't lead to anything positive. Or number two, and this is the harder one, it's just really just coming to peace with it all. Really just accepting the fact that whatever happened happened. And it stinks because sometimes you really don't want to come to peace with something that you feel was unfairly done to you. I'm sure a lot of us have been there before. But ultimately, if you do come to peace with something that was unfairly done to you, it'll allow you to move past certain things. And what will ultimately end up happening is when you are in your new job or you are in the next chapter of your entrepreneurial career or whatever your field of study or career might be, when you're faced with an instance that reminds you of the past, you won't really feel any emotion whatsoever because you've accepted what had already happened. Trauma and PTSD takes time to get over. It's not instant. The emotional scarring is there, but you do get healed over a period of time. But you have to make sure, though, that you really work on yourself and move past it, because careers and jobs are a lifeline for us. We rely on money, we rely on a lot of stuff in order to, and from our jobs in order to, carry our lifestyles and our lives properly and enjoy a proper quality of life. So don't let the past really impact what you're currently doing. So again, number one, don't take what happened to you in the past personally, and B, get over the resentful feelings. If you do both of those things, you'll be able to improve your mindset. You'll feel happier, you'll feel more confident and motivated in your new job. And when you're faced with situations that remind you of the past, it won't trigger any alarm bells or any anxious feelings. So I hope this is very helpful for you all. I know these tips are easier said than done, but they do work, and I hope you could put them into practice. So stay tuned for more content. Hope you enjoyed this video for today. Again, if you're not watching, whether you're watching on Instagram or YouTube or listening to the audio version on Spotify, really appreciate your support, and stay tuned for more episodes and more content down the road. Take care, everyone.